Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel Rewind. That is your girl Miss K. If this is your first time coming across my channel, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe if you like the vibe and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Today, guys, we are going to be going over Thewire Season 3, Episode number 8. This episode is called Moral Midgetry. And yes, this is the rewatch and recap. So let's get into it, guys. The quote of the episode is crawl, walk, and then run. And that's by Clay Davis. So the episode kind of starts off with Officer Prez filling Daniels and Freeman in on his progress with tracking the burners. They find out that the Barksdale crew goes to great lengths to purchase the burners outside the city, including out of state to Virginia. Prez also tells them that one of the numbers on a burner tracked back to Bodhi's grandmother's house. But aside from being impressed with the discipline of it all, the officers are not quite there yet, okay, guys? But they're gaining on them. Daniels couldn't say nothing but beautiful. And I mean, seriously, guys, you gotta admire the mastermind behind the Barksdale crew. As Freeman said, they're driving 200 plus miles every few weeks just out of sheer caution. Next, some of the corner boys in Amsterdam get robbed right under the noses of the cops. And the reason why I said this episode kind of started off with Officer Prez is because it really started off showing the corner boys getting jacked, okay? So anyway, the boys are pissed, as they should be. And one of them was like, where's the effing police when you need them? So that same kid decides that he has rights and they've been violated and he would like to file a report. I mean, after all, right, the boys that were robbed, they made some good points to the officers. They made points to officers Carver and Herc, okay? They was like, you said no whistles, no muscles, no flexing. Y'all supposed to be all over that. Another one reminded them that they also said Amsterdam was supposed to be like the Valley of Eden. So the skinny officer, Anthony, was like, well, call it poetic injustice. So one of the corner boys says, man, please, I want to file a report. So even though Herc thought this was ridiculous that they could have the audacity to want to file a report that they were selling drugs and someone took their money, Carver still sends them to the station with Herc to play around with an identikit. When Carver explains the situation to Officer Colvin, he sees that the corner boys have a point as well. If they tell them no guns in Amsterdam, then the police should protect them, right? But Carver also mentions that it's not just the stick-up kids that he's concerned about. He's now dealing with about 50 to 60 kids just roaming around with nothing to do, okay? Like just a bunch of ex-runners and ex-lookouts. And you know what they say about idle time, folks, okay? It's the devil's playground, okay? So I definitely see why Carver is concerned. Anyway, Colvin tells Carver that he could neutralize the threat by turning the kids into auxiliary cops. This way, they can be lookouts for any outside trouble, aka predators. Next, Kima and McNulty go to a Mondo Mart to try to get a hold of any video surveillance of one of the guys purchasing some burners, but they didn't have no success there. But once they leave the store, McNulty gets a call that Brianna Barksdale wants to meet with him because she has all these questions, but he feels like it'll only be a waste of her time as it was a waste of his. Next, Stringer is losing his patience with these condos, okay? He tells Clay that it feels like nothing has changed except a growing lightness in his wallet. He then asks Clay where his letter of approval was, along with some other things. Where's my letter of approval from the preservation mother lovers? But Clay tells String that everything is right around the corner. The fire department is coming out on Tuesday, and the plumbing and electrical is coming out tomorrow. He also tells String to relax and collect the checks while the white man does all the work. He tells String that he's going to bring him along, but it ain't going to be an overnight thing. In fact, it might take about 3 daggone years. But Stringer tells him he wants to run now. And that's when Clay tells Stringer that he is not ready because String is still showing a bit of the street corner mentality. But Stringer says, again, I'm ready to run now. So Clay says, 3 years, crawl, walk, and then run. And that's when we get our quote of the episode. Next, Herc has the corner boy victims down at the station playing with the make-a face. And Herc seems to be having a little fun with them, but the skinny officer, Anthony, he gets up and he walks off because he ain't here for this nonsense. I guess he wants to do real police work and stuff, which doesn't involve playing nice with drug dealers. But anyway, meanwhile, Colvin is in his office talking with the deacon, who is trying to wrap his head around what the heck Colvin is doing to the community. So Colvin says, look, I'm just trying to make my district livable. So the deacon says, this is bigger than what you think and what you can see. You can't see that this is a great village of pain and you're the mayor. He then goes on to ask Colvin about some pretty important things like where's your drinking water, your toilets, your heat, your electricity, the needle truck, and the condom distributions. Deacon was definitely laying it on thick, guys, and it seemed to stress Colvin out even more because he thought he was doing something by trying to create a safer environment, only to be reminded that crime is not the only problem. We got a resource problem, a poverty problem, and like Deacon said, half these people are dying on their feet, and the other half is going to catch what's killing them. So Colvin's response to all this is that the people ain't no worse off than when they was all over the map. Now they just in one place. And Deacon's response was, and that place is hell. And I was like, you better go ahead, Deke, because that is the truth, okay? Amsterdam is a hot freaking mess, and at this point, I'm just waiting for things to get worse, But anyway, guys, even though Bunny is frustrated by the deacon's points, he tells him that he is just the police. I could lock a man up or move a man off the corner. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for more than that, you in the wrong shop, my mans. So, that's true too, right? But it would be nice to bring these points to someone like Cutty because we already know he's here for changes like that. And the existing mayor does not care, okay? Next, speaking of Cutty, after reading that there's been an 8% drop in the Western District, he questions Burrell and Rawls on how this is possible all of a sudden. Has Major Colvin learned something about police work that eludes the rest of your commanders? Because right now it's screaming manipulation, okay? But of course, Rawls tells Cutty that the stats have not been manipulated because we don't do that. I don't do that. And I won't allow my people to do that. But little does Rawls know, guys, Cutty is hitting the nail on the freaking head with this one, okay? But we're going to just leave that alone because Cutty is on a roll, all right? He's tired of playing with these people, and now he wants to know if the department has sufficient funds to ensure security for endangered witnesses while they await the trial, okay? He wants to know what the city is willing to pay to make it possible for ordinary people to come down to the courthouse and do their civic duty to bear witness against gangsters and criminals. So Burrell is pretty stumped, and Cutty tells him that he understands that Burrell is in no position to judge the mayor and that Burrell can play the good soldier if he wants to, but he wants to go on the record right here and right now by saying that this administration has passed the buck time and time again and failed, folks, okay? Failed to protect people. So while he continues to rip folks a new one, Councilman Gray writes on a yellow pad, now? Like, you want to do this now? And I guess so because Cutty keeps going. And the whole time, McNulty's little man-eater was in the back. And I guess she didn't agree with Cutty's timing because she got up and left. So this seemed to kind of discourage Cutty, and he piped down, which was crazy because that's when Councilman Gray had his back. He was like, yeah, this city has failed the people miserably, and we need to do something about this. So later on, Man-Eater tells Cutty that the politics is not just about facts, okay? She tells Thomas that when he gets a hold of a fact, he starts beating on people with them. She also brings up the fact that people like Clinton and Reagan, they gave everyone in the room comfort and confidence when they spoke. And this is clearly something that Cutty needs to work on. Like, he can be charming and, someone that people like, but right now he is not very likable. All right, next. Avon gives Slim a number to a woman named Trina with a big old asparagus, and he wants Slim to give her a call because she works in the Department of Social Services. Avon figured that Trina could give them a name or two of Omar's people, right? Somebody he's related to. Then String comes in with his suit and briefcase, and Avon says, What's up? You taking care of business, String? And Stringer says, mm-hmm. And Avon was like, me too, man, me too, with a little smirk on his face. Next, a local officer of whatever town McNulty and Kima were in at the time tells them that he can get a copy of the surveillance tape that's facing Baba's parking lot. He also tells Kima that her partner is a bit of an a-hole, which was pretty funny to me because McNulty thought that he was gonna do something by telling Kima to stay in the car while he goes to talk to the officer, white man to white man. And McNulty thought that it was a good idea to play to their whiteness and say some degrading things about black people, not knowing that the officer's wife was black, okay? Now McNulty was feeling all stupid and he wants to tell the officer that he'd love his partner, Kima. Anyway, next, Deacon and Roman take Cutty down to a boxing gym where he sees all these kids training, and Cutty finally looks like he's found the one thing he wants to get involved in as a way to give back to the community. Next, Carver defends Colvin's actions to some of the other officers, especially Anthony, because they were complaining about how Operation Amsterdam isn't the right thing to do. Carver tells him that Colvin is trying something here, and after 30 years, he deserves some wiggle room, and the least they can do is give him the same backup he's always given them. Next, during another ComStat meeting, Colvin tells Rawls that the new stats are at 12%. But since being questioned by the city council, Rawls now wants to make sure things are on the up and up. So he asks Bunny if he doesn't mind if he has planning and research pull all his CC numbers, just to make sure everything is right. And Bunny says, go ahead, my numbers will stand. Next, McNulty meets with Brianna, and she tells him that there's no way that someone killed D'Angelo, because no one would have dared. So McNulty tells Brianna that someone strangled D, and whoever killed him wanted it to look like a suicide. He also makes a great point to say, listen, normally in jail, during the heat of the moment, somebody gets shanked. But in this situation, D was strangled, and it was well planned out, okay? So on top of all that, McNulty tells Brianna that he's sorry that he brought it up because no one cares, because, the cops are just happy to have one less murder to investigate. McNulty ends by saying that he kind of liked D'Angelo and thought he was a pretty decent kid, and it annoyed him that no one spoke up for him. Then he tells Brianna that he's only sorry that he bothered D'Angelo's girl and that she bothered Brianna. So Brianna says, why go to her? Why not come to me first? And she says this with tears in her eyes. So McNulty says, well, I was looking for someone who cared for the kid. You were the one who made him take the years, right? Then he leaves Brianna there with her tears. And I can't lie, guys, I did feel bad for her because even though she wasn't the greatest mom and she pretty much steered her boy wrong, it doesn't mean that it hurts her any less to lose her son. Next, Avon tries to work her magic on Marlo, and after he screws her in his truck, she gives him her number and tells him to come see her tomorrow so they can take it slow in a bed this time. Marlo seemed a little oblivious at the time, in my opinion, but Chris was side-eyeing Shorty. Meanwhile, Shamrock was down at the social services picking up the file on Omar. Next, we get back to Marlo, who proves that he wasn't as oblivious as I thought he was, because when he calls Devon the next day to set up a link, he told Chris that he needs him to get to the hotel before he does to check things out because he might be walking into something. Next, Brianna busts into Stringer's office and she wants to know where the heck her brother is. String tells her Avon ain't there. So Brianna tells String that she heard from McNulty, who told her that D was murdered. And String lets her know that he already knows about it through Levy. So long story short, guys, String tells Brianna that the cop is just trying to drive a wedge between them and that D just found a way to end his sentence early because jail be pressing on ninjas. But Brianna just wants to know where Avon is right now because at this point, she'll go to him. So String says he's dealing with a beef right now, but as soon as I get to him, I'll have him call you. But Brianna just stares at him with this pissed off look. So String says a cop shouldn't mess with a mother's pain like that. And Brianna says no one should. Then she storms out the office. Next, we see that after another meeting with Colvin, Deacon, Roman, and a Caucasian man, Amsterdam is looking a little better, with volunteers coming down to pass out clean needles, condoms, and take some blood pressures too. Meanwhile, Chris has Snoop on the lookout inside a chicken spot where one of Avon's boys orders about 4 chicken sandwiches. So she goes out to tell Chris, and they watch as the dude gets into a truck. So now Chris figures that they're on to something if the truck doesn't pull off. Then to top things off, Devon shows up, and instead of being casual about it, she keeps looking at the truck as she crosses the freaking street, okay? And for Chris, this is a dead giveaway. So he tells the driver to pass by the truck slowly. And when he does, Chris let off a shot into the truck, and lo and behold, Avon was in that truck as well, and he was hit in the shoulder while the guy next to him was killed, okay? Next, Shamrock comes to tell String what happened, but he tells Shamrock to close the door because he was in the middle of giving Clay a whole bunch of freaking money, guys. So when Clay leaves, Shamrock comes back in and tells Stringer that Avon has been shot and Brianna has been blowing up his phone. Shamrock was like, I think we should tell her what happened. So String says, no, screw Brianna and keep that B away from me. Then he makes his way over to Avon, and the conversation between them gets real, guys, okay? String tells Avon that he needs to stop with this war, and Avon tells him that the difference between me and you is that I bleed red and you bleed green. Avon tells Stringer that when he looks at him, he sees a man without a country. Not hard enough for this right here, and maybe not smart enough for them out there. So String was like, not hard enough. And Avon says, no offense, but I don't think you ever really were. You got skills, though. So String was like, why? Because I don't go around shooting up a block? I'm not hard enough? Because I think before I snatch a life? And Avon says, snatch a life? What life you snatch, huh? And even though I had a nice little laugh from what Avon said, this is when stuff got freaking real, okay? Because Stringer says, you know, Brianna went downtown and saw that detective. He telling her that D'Angelo's death was no suicide. And Avon says, yeah, so? Then String was like, man ain't wrong about that. So Avon looks at him a little confused, and he swallows his liquor and says, what? So that's when String steps in closer and says, yeah, I know you couldn't do it. Brianna wouldn't do it. But there go a life that had to be snatched, Avon. So Avon squints his eyes and pauses for a second before lunging at Stringer. But String gets the best of him because Avon, he just got shot. So he has a gunshot wound in his shoulder, and he really can't be out here tussling with nobody. So while Stringer pins Avon down, he pretty much tells Avon that it had to be done because D was going to give everybody up and he would have caused the whole show to go down. So he took the problem off Avon's hands. So Avon says, let me up. And when Stringer finally does, Avon paces the floor a bit, then slumps down on a mattress, looking like a mixture of emotions just going through his body, like defeat, sadness, anger, and disbelief. Like, it was crazy. I mean, listen, Wood Harris did very well in the scene, and so did Idris Elba. Like, they really did. Okay, because as Avon sits there breathing all hard, String is standing there breathing hard, and these two characters are just there locking eyes. And that is how the episode ended, guys. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Until next time, you guys take care and be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.